The overwhelming majority of children that are in the foster care system, there are no criminal charges against these parents because our criminal justice system had said, hey, it wasn't a big deal. So a parent yelled at a child, so there was an accident in the kitchen. I mean, all these things are ridiculous. But it's different with the family court. Unless a parent living in the home is charged with attempting to murder such a child, murdered a sibling, raping or severely beating a child, in every such instance, there is no forgiveness to be had, as parents who have committed such unconscionable crimes make it impossible for our society to want to risk placing these innocents into such an environment again. These children, and only these children, should either be placed into the sole custody of a safe parent or relative as first choice, or placed up for adoption as soon as possible. But even in these instances, never should the biological parent be barred from supervised visitation even after parental rights are terminated, unless if the child his or herself requests a halt on the visits, or if the parent frequently cancels visitation on their own accord. Visitation, which is now mandatory to be only 2 hours per month, must be changed to be a minimum of 4 hours per week. True, we have an overload of children within the foster care system, but that is only on account of the way the laws have been designed to take any child that one can suspect or maliciously, fraudulently assert there is abuse. The agency then turns these children into virtual orphans, destroying the lives of these helpless little victims and tearing innocent families apart. Reasons for tearing families apart and turning innocent children into virtual orphans are not for reasons of abuse or neglect in the overwhelming majority of cases, as the general public has been made to believe. The agencies have expanded upon the meaning of abuse and imminent danger in order to create their abuse excuse. Children are placed into the foster care system because the parent chose to homeschool a child. That is within our legal rights. Children have been placed into the foster care system because in the agency's opinion, the parent or parents didn't earn enough money, or the apartment was too small. Wait a minute, let's pick on all the poor people in the United States of America. Let's be a Gestapo. Let's be little Hitlers. Oh, you're not rich enough? You're not wealthy enough? Excuse me. The wealth comes from within the heart. And if people can't afford a large, spacious apartment, or they can't afford to buy the fanciest toys for their children, those children still want to be with their biological parents. They love their parents. They're good parents. You don't take children away from people simply because they're poor. And if you do, give them some money and help them out if they're that poor. Children, because for each child that's in the system, it's costing you, the taxpayer, $40,000 per child. Wouldn't it be a lot cheaper, less expensive, to just help these people out and fund a larger apartment for them if that was that important? And by the way, I know I'm interrupting the speech, but I met a woman, a wonderful woman. Her daughter was taken away from her because she was poor. I just recently met this lady about 2 months ago. She's a very clean-cut black lady. Her child was taken away from her over the summer of 1997 because she was one of those too poor who couldn't afford. Her daughter was always well-groomed. Her daughter was well-dressed and well-fed. Not malnutritioned or anything like that, like you would think if you heard the person was too poor, they took the child away. No, not at all. Not the case. They just took the child because she was poor. The little girl was only 4 years old. Can you imagine how it feels for a 4-year-old child to be ripped out of your home, away from your mother? Can you imagine? child was crying so much that the foster mother got fed up with hearing the child cry. She wanted to be home with her mother. The foster mother took the little girl's arms and legs and tied her up to the bedpost. She beat the child to death. Our city murdered that child. That child should have never been taken away from that mother. That mother had never abused her daughter. That daughter would be alive if the city just butted out. Let me go on with the speech. As I said, children have been placed into the foster care system simply because, in the agency's opinion, the parent didn't earn enough money. Children have been placed into the foster care system because a parent yelled at a child. Absolutely no physical contact. Yelled at a child. This is what I mean about expanding on the word abuse. Children have been placed into the foster care system on account of a tiny black and blue mark on a cheek or a hand or just a little mark somewhere. And the list goes on and on. The way the laws are set up, what it is that they are doing is perfectly legal. Then they throw these victims into the family court system, a kangaroo court, which allows hearsay evidence against innocent victims, even in what they refer to as the fact-finding segment of the trial. This is deliberately designed to make sure that the respondent is found to be guilty, whether innocent or not. Did you know that according to the New York State Chief Administrator of the court, the annual report, over 99% of those charged with abuse and neglect in New York City after disposition in the fact-finding segment of the family court trial are charged as guilty? The statistics are slightly lower upstate New York, whereby a mere 98.5% of all those charged with abuse or neglect in the family court are found to be guilty. Doesn't that seem odd? Could it be that the social workers, caseworkers, law guardians, and family court judges are all corrupt? This is my pathetic true story. All records, school records, hospital records, pediatrician records, dental records, witnesses from our church, and witnesses from other parents of whom spent a great deal of time with both myself and my daughter prove that I'm an excellent mother. I have not only taken excellent care of my daughter, but she has been crying all year to come home. Abused by the system, left to suffer severe depression, feelings of abandonment, disorientation, low self-esteem, and more. The year of this child's life was totally destroyed by the very agency that was supposed to be designed to save children, not to abuse them. But the ways that the laws are set up, they can do whatever it is that they please in order to draw an income for themselves, the agency, the family court workers, and the family court judges. My daughter was removed from my custody an entire year ago on account of hearsay allegations made by my husband after I served him with divorce. The caseworker assigned to my case, Eric Sanford, a man who came to my beautiful, immaculate apartment in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. I live on the same square block as Sally Jesse Raphael. With an order to remove my daughter, with my child hurdled behind the door, frightened for her life, Eric Sanford placed her life at risk by ordering the police to bash the door down out of its hinges with the child standing right behind that door. And then in the middle of the night, he transported this frightened little